Welcome everyone to Mycom OSI's FTTX webinar, Creating Value from Fixed Broadband Services. It's good to have you all here. We are joined today by some lovely guests. So from Analysis Mason, we have Justin van der Land and Denisa Nishiforov. From Mycom OSI, we have Jitu Raghavendran and Anuj Jain. And from AWS, we have Yongli Sao. We're going to go through the following topics over the next 45 minutes. There is time for a Q&A at the end of the session, so if you have a look on the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a chat bar. Pop any questions you might have in there throughout the course of the webinar, and we will do our best to answer them at the end. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Justin and Denisa from Analysis Mason. Over to you guys.
Yes, good morning and good afternoon, depending where you are. I'm Justin van der Land. I'm the Research Director at Analysis Mason. And we're just going to go through a few slides at the beginning of this just to kind of set the scene as to kind of why this is important and what the challenges are associated with FTTX rollout and the trends associated with Tier 1 support for that service. So just initially, just to set sort of the overall sort of macro level scene, if you like, we're probably all aware that fiber or FTTX deployments have been going on for some number of years. And essentially those are, in terms of capital expenditure, have actually peaked a couple of years ago. But in fact, the ongoing coverage is continuing. And particularly within some developing markets, where that is more complex and potentially have more troublesome rollouts and support for day 0 and day 1 operations. So I suppose that's sort of the context in terms of where the FTTX is at the moment in terms of rollout. But the slightly wider context is that operators on a global scale are actually going through a period of very low growth indeed. And even though FTTX provides a growth stimulation in terms of the service revenues which are associated with fiber, we all pay a little bit more for our fiber services than we do for potentially traditional copper ones. The overall revenue picture isn't wonderful. It's about going with inflation. In fact, I haven't put the CAGR in here, but it's about 1.3, 1.4% growth that we're predicting for total service revenues for operators over the period depicted here within the right-hand diagram. The net effect of this is essentially that there is a squeeze going on in terms of operational costs, which operators are trying to deal with. So even though revenues aren't growing, the only way they can really make sense from a business perspective is to start looking at how to reduce operational effort in terms of delivering those services. And at the front end of this, I suppose, and this is really the whole sort of challenge and reason for this particular survey work which we've done, which Denisa will go into in a bit more detail, is essentially how do we take some of the OPEX costs out of the operations within the delivery of particularly FTTX services. And this being quite important for operators as they go forward, trying to find and discover and indeed resolve complex new issues which are now coming to the fore within the operators. So I'm going to hand over to Denisa, who's going to go through a little bit of detail in terms of the survey work we did, which covered off a number of operators. I think it was around 50 that we went into some detail with in terms of interviews, and come back with sort of the challenges associated with those. So I'm going to hand over to Denisa now to go through the next couple of slides.
Thanks for presenting the macro level discussion, Justin. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending where you join us from. My name is Denisa Nikiforov, and I'm a senior analyst at Analysis Mason. And I lead on the Automated Assurance Research Program, which is part of the Operational Applications practice. So as Justin already mentioned, we conducted a survey for Mycom OSI, looking at the highlights of operational effort in supporting FTTX rollout. This was a global survey of 50 Tier 1 operators. And while today the focus of the discussion will be on the findings with regards to the operational challenges, however, there's a lot more information on the survey and the findings from the survey on Mycom's website, where the team also plans to publish some infographics. So please feel free to go and look for these additional insights if you need more information. So as mentioned today, we will focus on the operational challenges. The survey highlighted that the biggest operational challenge that CSPs are facing is the top one on the slide here, which is cost of operations. This is reflected in the argument we've just been through. Fiber networks can be highly complex. They have multiple interconnected components. Also, the fast rollout we have just touched on in the previous slide, is a significant factor which adds to the cost of operation. So not only that networks are highly complex, but this mass build out and the associated challenges are leading to faults that are compiling to be expensive. Beyond the cost of operation, the survey results also showed a number of issues which when mapped, they all are orientated around assurance directly or indirectly. So we're talking about high number of faults, the effects, the efforts in terms of finding the root cause of these faults, maintenance, monitoring performance of FTTX networks, SLA management for enterprise customers. All these require significant efforts. The high number of faults was highlighted by 81% of respondents. And this is not a surprise, however, because deploying fiber networks can involve complex construction and installation processes, which increase the risk of faults. What's interesting also from the survey results that indicated that integrated and converged operators are those that are reporting the highest incidence of faults. And I guess this suggests that the complexity and the scale of these networks are contributing to the issue. As we already know, integrated and converged operators often manage more extensive and interconnected networks, which are increasing the potential for faults, but also the interplay of various technologies that they're running and the systems can introduce some sort of vulnerabilities. Moving on. 74% of respondents indicated that locating faults and identifying the root cause of these faults is a major issue. Again, this comes down to the architectural complexity of fiber networks, which have many interconnected components. These components have a distributed nature, also being spread across a wide area, which makes it difficult to isolate the exact source of faults. In addition to that, fiber networks can experience a variety of faults, right? From fiber cuts to software glitches. So it makes it challenging to develop a one-size-fits-all approach for root cause analysis. Another challenge was SLA management, which 64% of respondents indicated that it's a complex problem they are currently dealing with. This comes down to, again, complexity, the distributed nature of fiber network, but also the need to implement a successful framework for SLA management. This needs to define the service level objectives and the key performance indicators. It also needs to monitor and measure performance against SLAs, provide visibility of SLAs to customers, and most importantly, proactively address any deviations from SLA to also avoid penalties associated with breach of agreements, right? Even though the time taken to repair, as we can see on the graph here, was less of an issue, we would argue that this is because there are some systems already in play in terms of fault resolution. Where operators are less advanced is in terms of predicting fault finding. But once the fault is found, the systems in place are quite good at resolving the issue. The last challenge that I would like to quickly touch on is the need for enhanced manpower training, which was highlighted by 74% of respondents. Again, this is not surprising, given that FTTX is a relatively new technology. There are diverse rollout techniques. Operators have to interact with new vendors for rollout in different parts of different countries. The introduction of new services and the requirements for new support also is an issue, and staff may lack flexibility with specific issues. This can lead to delays in problem resolution. However, this challenge is expected to be diminished as the technology matures over time. And training programs improves and automation becomes more prevalent in software and operational areas. Coming into the operational discussion, the use of AI and the maturity of closed-loop automation. From the survey results, what's encouraging to see is that operators are putting plans in place to take cost out through automation and closed-loop operations. On progress to date, while 40% of operators have not yet finalized implementing a real-time monitoring solution using AI. 60% of total respondents plan to implement or use AI to help resolve these challenges. So there's clear evidence there that AI and automation are important drivers that would help operators address these challenges. And that leads me to the recommendations. First is around the fact that assurance is a critical challenge for operators, which is also directly impacting operational cost. Operators need to develop a comprehensive plan to address assurance, which in turn can significantly reduce expenses by improving network reliability, optimizing resource allocation, and minimizing downtime. The second recommendation is in terms of use of AI and analytics for automation capabilities, which are critical in resolving these challenges. And operators should be investing in these capabilities. Last but not least, is the framework for addressing assurance should be flexible enough to handle other issues as well. For example, if analytics are being used to pinpoint root cause, the same approach can be applied to solve other network operational problems. The next big challenge to address actually would be the predictive maintenance. So when building this assurance framework, it's important to keep in mind that this has to be used to address other challenges too. With that, I will pass you on to Jitu from Mycom OSI team, who will diving into the Mycom OSI FTTX assurance solution and how this helps overcome the FTTX specific requirements in the market. Over to you, Jitu.
Thank you, Denisa. Good day, everyone. And thanks for the excellent market research from Analysis Mason, highlighting the key business and functional drivers of FTTX deployments, right? So based on building on from that, I would like to actually take you through our FTTX assurance and automation solutions that we offer at Mycom OSI, addressing the highlighted challenges and further the use of AI to actually support home and enterprise broadband services. I am Jitu Raghavendran, a VP at Telco Transformation and Automation/AI Solutions at Mycom OSI. Moving on into the next slide. Yeah, so what I would like to actually start off, is that we have been able to actually quantify through the deployment of our FTTX assurance and automation solutions in real CSP environments. And, let's just actually sort of kick things off with the 5 different areas that we are actually seeing, right? And how we have been able to actually quantify with those real numbers, starting with automating the consumer services, right? Where we have actually seen a specific reduction of about 85% in incident handling, which has been actually done through 300 plus multi-domain service impacting alarms, and allowing us to actually sort of capture like $3 million USD worth of cost avoidance per year. And second area that we have actually sort of looked into and derived those results is the auto ticketing for the enterprise services. And in there, we've actually seen 90% reduction in incident handling by automating 99% of those workflow processes through auto ticketing for various host of enterprise services offered by CSPs, right? Which has amounted to about $1.2 million per year. And, we've also actually looked at reducing the customer impact by automating or reducing actually the 90% of those customer complaints, moving into zero-touch service operations center, where we have actually seen some impressive results of looking at 97% reduction in alarm handling times, and finally improving the operational efficiency, right, by proactive incident reporting and doubling the network visibility. All of this has actually amounted to about $6.5 million in terms of cost reduction and significantly improving the quality of experience that CSPs offer to their customers. So moving on into the next slide, what we actually look at is how do we actually offer the various different FTTX solutions in the 5 different areas, on real-time observability, zero-touch automation, SLA management, customer impacting capabilities, as well as the AI-driven predictive maintenance and Gen AI solutions. And we'll kind of actually sort of dive into a little bit more in detail on each of those of what we do, what we specifically offer. The first one is actually on the network and service real-time observability. The problems where we are actually sort of looking at the close monitoring and the customer usage of the perceived quality of service, right? And and specifically looking at identifying the passive device faults when it comes to FTTX networks, which are actually providing the OTT services, and enabling the single pane of glass for customers is actually one of those key requirements. And how do we actually solve it? As you can see on the picture on the top right, the first thing is to actually provide that real-time visibility and observability metrics for a problem and service impacting with single pane of glass capabilities, right? By combination of various different data sources to be correlated from performance management, fault management, probes, topology, all different types of data sources in order to actually provide you with those key quality indicators on those FTTX networks, right? Which all will actually allow you to look at the faster problem identification through effective service modeling for broadband home and enterprise customers as well. So then moving on into the next one with the zero-touch automation capabilities. This is where there are longer RCA times, manual problem resolutions. It is significantly lowering the operational efficiency, and the customer experience is actually required. So how do we then offer the solutions actually addressing these problems? Fundamentally, we offer automated RCA capabilities with intelligent correlation through service impact analysis to automate that end-to-end parts of that chain. Auto notification, auto ticketing, auto dispatch, and auto remediation as well, which all allows you to actually move from, and achieve like also what we have been working on in terms of TMF's autonomous network maturity models to go towards level 3 and level 4 quite rapidly through the zero-touch automation NOC/SOC solutions that we offer. And you can actually also see on some of those screenshots over there the closed-loop automated workflows that enable you to actually achieve that. And the third major pillar that we offer, in terms of those solutions, as was also actually explained in the market survey, is the need for comprehensive SLA management capabilities. So for CSPs with wholesale and enterprise business units, SLA management is actually a key requirement, right, for all the different enterprise services that's been offered to end customers. And how does that FTTX network, which actually also serves the various different services, right? And also saying that the SLAs are actually kind of guaranteed by the specific parts of the FTTX networks, which are actually impacting those network services, from resources to network services to the customers, right? And that's how we actually managed to do that. So on the top right, we offer that real-time SLA monitoring capabilities through enterprise portals, which actually has a view of the enterprise circuits, the proactive real-time monitoring capabilities for the wholesale and enterprise business units, including the various different fiber services that are actually catering to IPVPN, direct internet access, PLL, and so on, as well as providing auto notifications, for the end customers, right? When you're actually monitoring those SLA and the breaches that are the penalties that you might actually have to incur, and proactively monitoring them, right? With escalation matrix of all those KQI breaches that are then actually also conveyed to customers as well. So then we look into the fourth major pillar of our offerings when it comes to the impacted customers, right? Which you have to actually look at it in real time. There is very low visibility when it comes to customer impacting. You know that sometimes the resources are okay, services are actually running fine, the FTTX services, but then the customers are actually majorly impacted through last mile fiber or H323 breakdowns or fiber cuts and so on. So which all leads to actually poor customer experience. right? So over here, one of the key things is, as I said earlier, through comprehensive service modeling capabilities that actually come off the shelf through our solutions, we are able to actually quantify those key customer impacting alarms, right? To look at even the last mile monitoring of those FTTX networks and proactively actually identifying those specific customer issues, as well as the auto tracking of those real-time visibility of those FTTX services along with the SLA management is how we are able to actually look into the GPON customers by also integrating that to the customer CRM systems and so on the fiber issues and notifications on OLTs, ONUs, NAPs, and all the way down to the OLT level for those CPEs that are actually catered by those FTTX networks. And lastly, I wanted to actually kind of leave you with, the advanced automation and AI-based predictive maintenance that we offer for FTTX networks with GenAI capabilities as well. So over here, one of the key issues when it comes to the problem statements is the network performance forecasting and anomaly detection for dense 4G, 5G deployments supported by FTTX backhaul. And one of the key things that we actually offer is talking to the network, right, through GenAI capabilities. We've actually also got our partners, AWS. We support multi-large language models for GenAI capabilities to look at it as a single multi-lens anomaly detection for different parts of the FTTX networks on port, IP, VLAN, OLTs, on CPEs, and so on, right? So we use actually natural language prompts, also leveraging the AWS Bedrock capabilities to query complex data sets with tabular textual summaries that actually returns you with real-time results using the generative AI capabilities, right? In order to actually predict and identify those anomalies beforehand, as well as the GenAI capabilities to talk to your network for ad hoc intelligent data analysis to go and actually fix, eliminating the need for all those longer RCAs, along with recommendations that are actually offered by our solutions as well. So with that, I hand over to my colleague Anuj to actually go through a demo of Mycom OSI's assurance and automation solutions. Over to you, Anuj.
Hi everyone. So we talk about the problem statements for the FTTX assurance. We talk about the solution approach. Now I'm going to talk about what we can look for the tool features within the assurance for the FTTX. So I'm going through one of the demo that we are showing with the key features of our tools. So here we talk about how the network changes need to be tracked. It can be heterogeneous. It's a complex task to maintain the changes in the network on the daily basis. It could be your fiber, it could be DSL, VDSL. So we need to track the network changes along with the control over the KQIs and the KPIs that we need to ingest as a service impacting for the any assurance solutions. Then we need to track the service impacting alarms that we pass for the propagation engine to see which customer or the service is impacting through those service impacting alarms. The next step will be to have a single view where we can see the quality of the service along with the customer quality of service. If we can do the RCAs over that, if there is any degradation in the quality of service, so I can correlate whether there is a KQI issue or whether it's a fault alarm issue, or it's because of the fault alarm, I'm getting a degradation in the KQI. So it's need to be there that I can correlate the information beforehand. And the next step will be if I can correlate all together in an automated form. Basically, I can do a single view where I can see the root cause of any issues in the resources or the network elements. And then I can see the customer impact, as Jitu mentioned earlier, in a single view. So I don't need to track anything else. I can see the root cause here. I can see the customer impact. Even I can do the auto ticketing based on that. So in the single tool itself, I can do the auto ticketing, root cause, customer impact, and then I can analyze based on the topology. So you can see here, and there is an external third-party tool is there where we are doing the auto ticketing based on the predefined criteria. Then I can go for the topological view of this similar problem. I can track which resource element is having an issue, and because of that, which customers or which enabling elements are affected. So I can visualize those very easily. It is easier for the operations team to manage in that way. Along with that, so if we have to go for the zero touch operations, we need to do the manual resets or going to site visit. However, if the tool can do the remote login into the EMS system, so we can track based on the predefined trigger, we can do the resets or reconfiguration of the network automatically to resolve the issue to fulfill the closed loop functionality. Last but not the least, we have a talk to your network, where you can give the query to the network that, okay, I need the ad hoc based analytics data to debug the RCAs. So you can give the command to the network, okay, I need to find out if my OLT is having issue, which customers or which wireless site could be impacted. So you can see that. So this is the overview of end-to-end solutions from my end. Now I'm handing over to the AWS team, Yongli, for SaaS-based advantage. Yeah. Over to Yongli.
Thank you, Anush. Very good morning or good afternoon to everyone, depending on where you are. I'm Yong Lee, Business Development Lead for BSS OSS with AWS for APJ. I would like to start with the topic of why CSP should select and deploy cloud-native applications before discussing how these will apply in the context of assurance solution for FTTX. Couple of key reasons and benefits. First is speed, having a quick time to market. A cloud-native architecture leveraging containers and cloud services allows software vendors to build and deploy solutions and features faster, which means that as customers and users, you get to enjoy new functionality and the latest features faster and earlier. Second is elasticity. Built using microservices architecture and leveraging cloud resources, the application can easily scale on demand, which means that as customers and users, you don't need to worry about over-provisioning at the beginning or worry about inability of the application to support your operations when demand and usage shoot up. Resiliency. Leveraging a distributed architecture, the application can easily be deployed across multiple availability zones, right? Increasing the resiliency and ensuring that the application will remain reliable and functional to support your operations. And finally, delivering the cloud-native application in the form of SaaS or software as a service allows you to pay for what you use, pay as you grow your business, and enjoy the latest updates and patches as and when these are available, without committing to significant upfront IT investment. And with AWS, with more than 18 years of experience working with our partners to support millions of customers, and with 34 regions spanning over 108 availability zones, right, it's the most secure, extensive, and reliable global cloud infrastructure for you to deploy cloud-native applications. So how does a cloud-native application in the context of an assurance solution for FTTX help with addressing the challenges faced by CSPs, especially around cost of operations and impact of poor service performance, which are key concerns of CSPs offering FTTX services? Here, I'm using some rather common challenges as examples to illustrate the points. The large number of ONTs and OLTs to be monitored in the FTTX network, as well as the ability to correlate the PON fiber issues with a huge volume of data generated to ensure service quality, is best supported with an assurance solution built on cloud-native microservices-based architecture. The cloud-native assurance solution can then easily scale and can leverage cloud-based machine learning services to train in analyzing and predicting issues based on the huge volume of data generated, which will then help to deliver consistent service quality and faster identification of issues, resulting in better customer experience for consumer or enterprise users. Passive optical networks are generally built way ahead with relatively static network capacity, which may result in non-optimal utilization, especially due to changes in demands and subscriber usage patterns. Easily integrated with existing system and with real-time or near real-time data stored and processed in the cloud, a cloud-native assurance application can leverage cloud-based analytics to assist in planning for dynamic capacity utilization and assuring performance, which will help to improve QoS and proactively address capacity and services constraints before impacting customers. And of course, CSPs need to invest in an assurance solution that can deliver the latest features and keep up to date with the latest technology all the way from GPON to XGS-PON to future 50G PON. But yet at the same time, CSPs need to minimize the upfront IT infrastructure investment costs. Right? The CSPs need to invest in an assurance solution that can scale when needed and select a solution that can deliver the latest assurance features and functionality quickly and easily. So an assurance solution delivered as SaaS or software as a service will be able to provide the continuous features updates, easily upgrade to new version to support new technology when needed, right? And to help the CSP focus on monitoring and managing the FTTX network without having to worry about the huge IT infrastructure or the IT application management costs. And of course, having a cloud-native assurance solution makes it easier to leverage generative AI for use cases, such as network observability and fault resolution or remediation for FTTX. The network performance and fault management data that are extracted and stored in the cloud, such as Amazon Redshift or Amazon S3, can be processed by advanced analytics and trained via machine learning services such as Amazon SageMaker to assist in predictive operations and provide actionable insights. And with the options to access a wide range of foundation models through Amazon Bedrock, and combining or augmenting with information from existing knowledge bases such as operating manuals, trouble ticketing systems, the network operators can easily use natural language to interact with the assurance solution, like what Jisoo mentioned earlier, right? Interact with the assurance solution for information, recommendations, and suggestions on network performance and fault resolution. So Amazon SageMaker for predictive operations and Amazon Bedrock for generative AI-powered assistant for telco operations are examples of cloud services that can be leveraged to build intelligence into assurance solutions or directly to support network operations for FTTX. And with that, I will now hand over the session back to Jack to continue with the rest of the agenda. Jack.
Thanks very much, Yongli. We are running perfectly to time, which is great. So I hope you've all been enjoying the webinar so far. We're entering the Q&A part of the session. So if any of you would like to ask a question, right-hand side of the screen, pop it in the chat bar. I've had a few come in, so I'm just going to read them out. I think, what do we got? First one, this is going to be for you, G2. What FTTX technologies and vendors are supported through Mycom OSI's assurance solutions? Oh, you're muted, G2.
Sorry.
Yeah. Mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Mycom OSI solutions are all of the FTTX use cases that have actually been deployed across the globe are multi-vendor, multi-technology, and so on, right? So we do actually work on a whole range of vendor interfaces, and we've got over 100 different vendor configurations, you name it, on the GPON, the BNG, the feeder fibers, and and that actually goes through a whole range of Huawei, Nokia, Alu, and various different different vendors that we are actually supporting. So, and then from a use cases point of view, we actually sort of harmonize this right on top, and the different use cases that actually goes into rectifier, abnormal H.248 communications, the wireless BNG, the physical port down, and so on. So it's we have a whole range of multi-vendor configuration supported off the shelf in our catalog. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much. And anyone else in the audience, just imagine you're walking into a meeting room and you step in and you've got Analysys Mason, Mycom OSI, and AWS all sat in there. Now is your chance to ask questions. We do have a couple more that have been sent through. So, oh yeah, well, you partially answered this, G2, but yeah, do you have off-the-shelf models for different FTTX configurations?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one, right? So that's exactly where we have actually perfected the usage of the various different service models, right? For fiber to the home, fiber to the premise, fiber to the enterprise boxes, and so on. So every different configuration actually comes with the different types of service models that have been actually adjusted in terms of the unified network inventory and topology. So thanks to that modeling that we have within our service models that offer the resources to resource-facing services to customer-facing services, both propagation and impacting capabilities for you to actually do that whole automation lifecycle. So for different FTTX configurations, whether it's actually home or enterprise or premise, we do actually support various off-the-shelf models, and that can be easily customized, right? And that actually has a whole host of ONUs, OLTs, aggregation routers, the CG NAT equipments, as well as for supporting those BNG networks, all the way up to the customer level, right? In order to look at the network impacting on the services to the customers as well. Yeah, so that's all actually made possible by the flexible as well as the accurate service modeling that we actually offer as part of our solution.
Thank you. I've got one here for Justin and or Denisa. So what was the biggest surprise from the FTTX survey? Is there anything on assurance that needs to be done differently in your opinion? Either of you can answer or both.
Denisa, you've got any ideas? The biggest surprise. I suppose from my perspective, I think that we kind of knew that assurance would be sort of the top of the agenda, but it absolutely dominated it as being sort of the critical thing to resolve in terms of challenges. And you saw within the results that there was a sort of a cluster. The reason why we clustered those as they did, because they're all part of the assurance story, if you like. So I think it's kind of reflective of kind of where those services are today. They're quite new, and indeed they're bedding down in terms of how the support's been run on them. So it's kind of day one, if you like, in terms of all of those services. It's sort of they're recently been rolled through. And the other thing worth bearing in mind, even though the FTTX capex costs have, as I showed, has sort of peaked a couple of years ago, essentially the uptake of FTTX services is running slightly behind that curve. So it's not really surprising as new services get taken up by clients and customers, businesses and consumers, that the challenge then turns into making sure that they are monitored and assured and delivered correctly. So it's not really a surprise, but it's sort of it is tracking as we kind of would anticipate. But it was, I think, the big surprise was just how much of importance that particular bit was in terms of the challenges that have been faced today. I don't know if Denisa had any other thoughts on that. Sorry to throw you back at you, Denisa, but or maybe concur with me as to what we found within that.
No, absolutely. Yes. It was quite a surprise, and the fact that assurance is a critical challenge for operators, and it's also directly impacting operational cost, as we've seen, right? So, hence the recommendation that they need to develop this comprehensive plan to address the assurance. which in turn is going to reduce expenses and improving the network reliability, enhance the customer experience, but also achieve cost savings through becoming more efficient and in their operations and reducing maintenance expenses.
Cool. Thank you very much. So yeah, we've got another question here. What should the let's pose this one to Yongli and Mycom OSI. So what should the strategy be for FTTC to FTTH migration, and any AI model exists to facilitate this migration? Yongli or Jitu or Anuj?
Yongli, do you want to actually go first, and then?
Well, I guess first in terms of AI models, right? I'd like just make a couple of comments about the AI models. When selecting a models, there's a lot of trade-offs that need to be done across latency, cost, accuracy, knowledge, and specialization, right? So from AWS point of view, Amazon Bedrock provides the broadest selection of models available for a unified experience through a single API. As to which specific AI models that will really be the right strategy for FTTC to FTTH migration, I will let Jisoo try to answer that, because I think that one is more specific to your assurance solution and how you can actually do it. But just want to highlight the point that Amazon Bedrock provide a selection of a wide range of models, and there are trade-off and different kind of models that you need to be able to select to offer it for the best use cases that you want to do. Jisoo, you want to add on that?
Sure. So from our perspective, the way we would actually be looking at it is 2 or 3 different dimensions. The first is when you asked about the fiber to the cabinet to the FTTH migrations and so on, if that's what the question was. Firstly, we would be looking at starting with the service model in terms of looking at the FTTC modeling itself, right? From the OLT to the NAP fiber, all the way to the cabinet, and that will actually be comprising of a specific service model. And when it comes to actually dynamically kind of doing the migrations, because of this flexible service modeling and the topology that we are actually kind of consolidating, it enables you to then actually do that when you've kind of seamlessly migrated, right, from the FTTC to the FTT, for the fiber to the home or the premises and so on. The service models can actually be toggled in order to actually look at the dynamic topology injection into the platforms. So then we are able to actually look at the associated ONU and the last mile and the OLTs, including the CPEs, to actually look at that. So that's number one, through the flexible use of the service models on how do we actually capture that. Number two, the flexible policy management allows us to actually do that whole auto ticketing and auto dispatch and the remediation process when there is actually any service degradation that actually happens during this migration itself, right? So that's where the power of the policy management engine that we actually offer allows you to actually do that entire end-to-end process, which are embedded in those solutions. And lastly, in terms of like the remediation and the when you actually have to fix those specific issues, either in the form of generative AI with the models that we actually use. I mean, the models are going to be actually quite similar when it comes to the Gen AI in order to actually query some of those, because of the multi-LLM that we actually use with Bedrock and so on. So the application of models actually allow you to, with either FTTC to the FTTH migrations and so on, because we do actually have the cutoff between the pre-migration and the post-migration, we are able to actually offer some of those automation capabilities by using the prediction as well as the Gen AI engine. So I think those are the 3 major parts that we would actually see, and we have supported these migrations for real CSP environments as we speak right now.
Thank you, Jitu. I think we've got time for maybe one last question. This one, I think, is for you as well, Jitu. Can you provide a list of key automation use cases that you've deployed for your customers, and are they closed loop?
Yeah, so a number of those automation use cases actually revolve right, around the root cause analysis, as what are the different root causes that are actually associated with the FTTX service degradations, and these use cases can actually kind of range from expected line of sight optical signals. OLT cannot actually receive the LOS, the feeder fiber is broken, fiber cuts between the OLT and the ONU, the customer shutting down and switching off ONUs manually, and then how do you then actually use the automation engine in order to actually generate that impacts? Or even, as I said, in some cases, when you actually have the fiber networks, which are actually serving the dense 4G, 5G, it is to actually eliminate the silos within the organization in order to actually look at isolating those issues between the fiber broadband that's also actually interconnected with the mobile networks as well. And that's where it actually kind of gets even more interesting, in order to look at that end-to-end SLAs, which are actually completely automated. That's also integrated with some of our some of the SLA management systems for those end customers, which we are exposing through portals. And that all actually adds up as part of the automation use cases. And in terms of closed loop, yes, the whole remediation capabilities, both in terms of auto ticketing as well as the fixing of the network parameters, if you like, which Anuj actually showed a little bit during the demo. They're all actually closed loop use cases that we have actually implemented for our customers.
We're up against it for time, but we've got one last question and then we can wrap things up. So any success stories for FTTC to FTTH transformation, can we share them, please?
Yeah, we've got a case study which we've actually gone through with one of our customers, which we can, if you've got the details of, the person that's actually asking that question, we can actually share that case study just after this webinar.
Yeah, certainly. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. I'll bring this call to action up on screen. So if any of you fancy checking out Mycom OSI's FTTX solutions page, there's a link there. In the handout section on the right-hand side, you'll have seen some of our application briefs and solution briefs. I'm also going to just share now the slide deck that you've just seen. Thank you all for joining, and thank you to our presenters for presenting so eloquently. And we will be in touch with any more questions that have come through that we haven't managed to read out in these 45 minutes. So with that, I will close the webinar and have a good day, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.